So let's start today's webinar. The topic is IAM and its importance in the cloud. Mostly, particularly, the cloud we are talking about here is the AWS, right? Amazon, Web Services. Okay, that's we have in place. So let's get started. So let's Paul first. Let me introduce myself. My name is Amit Pandey, and these are the certification that I hold right now. ComSha A plus, Network plus, Security plus, CH, which is a very famous certification, particularly by provided by EC Council, right? Which is in offensive side. If you are interested in the offensive side, you can, you know, go to the CH part as well. And I have also certification in the cloud part, which is provided by ComSha. It is vendor neutral, so it teaches you irrespective of specific vendors. It will be telling you over kinds of basics about the cloud part. Then I have also certification in the AWS Cloud Practitioner, AWS Solution Architect, AWS Security Specialty, AWS Machine Learning, and Azure 900. So particularly, I have an expertise into the AWS part as well, and I have an experience of 3+ years into this particular field of cybersecurity and the cloud as well. So I train in the cloud as well as in this cybersecurity as well. So this is about the organization InfosecTrain. We were established in 2016, and we provide security, training to multiple organizations, right? And these are the endorsements we have in place. We have trained more than 30,000 professionals and multiple corporate organizations. We have also trained them, and these are the trusted clients we have in place. We have taught the clients of employees of the Tata as well, and Indian Air Force and SBI, okay, on different technologies on offensive type, on the defensive side, as well as in the cloud part as well. So how they can build the cloud, how can they shift their particular architecture from on premises to the cloud, right? What are the things that they need to worry about, all this kind of things. So that's all these things we have uh, taught them, right? So this is why you should choose InfosecTrain. So InfosecTrain is the official partner of EC Council, right, of ComSha, of Microsoft, and multiple other vendors, right? So we are the official partners of you know these different organizations. Particularly these organizations like the ComSha and EC Council are the very famous organizations. They provide certifications in different domains, from the cloud to the offensive to the defensive as well, right? So when talking about the today's agenda, IAM and its use in the cloud part, this is the agenda we have for today. The first thing we are going to discuss, guys, is what is actually a cloud, right? I will be try to explain you in as layman language as possible, like what is actually a cloud means. Like in today's world, everybody is talking about the cloud and the machine learning. What is actually cloud actually means, right? In the terms of technology. And the second thing, we are going to discuss about different vendors we have in place. What are the different vendors? Okay. And the third is different services of the cloud are being provided to us. Okay. Then I am something which is called by the name of identity and access management. If someone is very new to this particular concept, I am identity and access management, I will try my best to explain you in a very plain and a simple language what the I am identity and access management is. In now, when we are talking about the IAM, particularly in the context of AWS, there will be some policies, okay, that I will be showing you as well, which is very deep thing, but just an overview I will be showing you. Then what is policy inheritance, what are the users we have in place, you know multi-factor authentication, and all those kind of things you need to worry about in the IAM, identity and access management. And little bit of an hands-on thing at the end of the session we will be performing as well. Fine, that's the thing we have. And at the end, you can ask your doubt, you can ask your question, anything. Okay, so let's get started. So the first topic that comes up is what is actually a cloud is. Cloud is in general means, guys, is that if I just explained in a very simple and a layman language, cloud is um someone else's system. Okay, let me explain how. You have heard about something which is called by the name of Google Drive, right? Everyone has heard about the Google Drive, and most of you would be using it right now. Google Drive for one, for anything, for storing its personal files and folder, or for storing his official documents and all those kind of things. We have the Google Drive. So when you are storing it in your personal PC, what are the risks you have in place? If I save a file or a folder in my own PC, what are the risk I have? The risk I have is that if, let's say, for example, there is a ransomware attack happens to my PC, then what is going to happen is that my system is going to be get corrupted, it's going to be encrypted, and I will be losing my data, my precious data that I do not want at any sort of, at whatever the condition should be, right? It's my personal data, or it's my professional data, any sort of a data that I have in my particular laptop or desktop. I does not want it to be encrypted. Or let's say, for example, if my hard disk has some issues, it's not able to operate, or my operating system fails, multiple things can go wrong in my particular system. So what I do is that I have a different solution for that. The solution is cloud, or in case Google Drive. So whenever anyone says to you cloud, you can just imagine right now, right, at a beginner level, about the Google Drive. You can just imagine it up. Perfect. So what really happens is that when I say is that I'm going to take this file, okay, my personal files of my family members, of my friends, instead of storing it in my phone or in my computer, what I do is that I take that particular particular folder and upload it over the Google Drive. In Google Drive right now, you are having 15 GB of free for a per account. Fine. Okay, that's pretty good. So if I have a particular, you can say, 1 GB of a data file in a folder which are very sensitive, which are very crucial for me, and at any cost I do not want to lose them. Okay, so what I do is that I just upload that 1 GB of file over the particular Google Drive. If I just, okay, so because in the Google they have a kind of a scheme or an offer, you can say, right, but that per account you are getting 15 GB of free of cost. Perfect. So now in that particular scenario, if something happens to my hard disk, let's say for example my hard disk, my system, my laptop, my mobile phone, and now it gets damaged, it gets stolen, right, there is a virus, something happens, still I can have access to my precious files and folder. That's the beauty of it, of the cloud. Why? Because now I have stored previously, before the attack or before my hard disk failed, I have stored or uploaded the data, my files, in the Google Drive. So if I want to access that particular Google Drive once again, what I needed is that I need two credentials. First is username, and another one is a password. Third one is also there, which is called by the name of MFA, which means multi-factor authentication, which is a very crucial thing. Okay, I would just take your time a little bit and explain you what the MFA, which is called by the name of multi-factor authentication, is. As I told you, that's what I mean, right? MFA in the cloud part also, as well as in your on premises, it is also, it's a very very crucial thing. So let's say for example, I'm giving you an example of a Google Drive, right? So in your Google Drive, in order to access your Google Drive, you should have a Google account. Fine. Perfect. So now what really happens is that you enter your credential, you enter your username, enter your password. Perfect. But what really happens is that there are plenty of ways through which an attacker or a hacker can hack into your particular device. Fine. So for that we have to stop that kind of thing, or to reduce those kind of things. What we have in place, which we have something which is called multi-factor authentication. There is a particular application in the app store, which is called by the name of Google Authenticator. After the session, I would request you, if you have not enabled multi-factor authentication, I would request you to go and download Google Authenticator, and then link that Google Authenticator application to your particular Gmail ID or any ID, that account that you have in place. So the next time when you will be wanting to log in into your particular account, you need the username. Normally what you enter your username, then you enter your password, and then you enter that particular code, MFA, multi-factor authentication, which has a duration of only 60 seconds. After every 60 seconds, the MFA would change, so it drastically increases your security a lot. That is very important in the context of the cloud as well as in the context of on premises. Fine. That is the MFA we have in place, which is called by the name of multi-factor authentication. Okay, perfect. Let's come back to the example where we were. So we have uploaded 1 GB of a crucial files and folder where in the Google Drive. If something happens to my device, it catches fire, there is a short circuit, it gets stolen, hard disk fails, something happened, I just completely lost it, there is no electricity, still I can have an access to my particular photos. Why? Because my photos, 1 GB of my photos are not stored in my particular local system. It is stored in some secure data center of the Google, which is managed by the Google, right? That's the thing we have in cloud. So in short, in the cloud means is that this is your particular laptop and you have a photo here, you have a particular folder here. It is not going to store in your particular system, but it is going to be stored in some other system in place, which, and this particular computer would be taken care by the Google. Their engineers, the software engineer, the hardware engineer, and all those professional would be looking after it. So this particular computer, which is taken care by the Google, it is much more secure, much more protected than as compared to the your system. Fine. If I want to hack into your system, there are plenty of easy way through which I can hack into our normal systems. But to hack into a Google server, it is possible, but it is very difficult. Okay, that's the thing. So they are, as compared to the normal system, they are well protected. So nothing else. Whenever you hear about the cloud, they are just a PC computers which someone else is managing. That what a particular cloud is. Fine. Perfect. Okay. Then we have another terminology in place. Which, if you go to the cloud part and you just look into the internet, you will see a very interesting and another terminology which is called by the name of cloud computing. So, okay. So what's the difference between a cloud and a cloud computing? Cloud means normally, as I told you, someone else PC, right? And you are just, what you're doing is that you are transferring your data from your local system to that particular system in place. That's what you're doing. At the time when you need it, you just go there and you can view it up, or you can just download it again whenever you want to read it. Or you can, if you want to just erase it out, you want to delete it, you can do that as well. Fine. That normally what a cloud is. But what is cloud computing? Cloud computing means when this particular machine, right, this one, which someone else is controlling, that particular machine also has the like it, that particular machine can do the computational power. It means that that particular machine can do the complex calculation, it can think. You can not only save photos, but you can also just assign the task to this particular machine, and it will be able to do that as well. That is something which is called cloud computing, when a machine can perform much more complicated thing. Okay, that is the thing we have in place, which is called by the name of cloud computing. Perfect. Okay. And remember, multi-factor authentication, very important. Fine. Okay. So now let's talk about the different vendors we have in place, in guys, right? We have multiple vendors in place in the cloud, right? We have, let's say, for example, the vendors we have in place are AWS. Okay. We have Azure. Let me just show that to you. This one is the AWS one. This is Azure, and this is the GCP, right? Okay. So this is GCP is particularly the which is maintained by the Google, okay, which stands for Google Cloud Platform. And the A1, this one, yes, this one is the Azure, right? This one is the Azure. It is taken care by the Microsoft, and this is taken care by the Google. And this is by the, as the logo by itself it is looking, this is taken care by the Amazon. Fine. Okay, so these are vendor mean. Okay, so whenever you say vendor mean boss, vendor means company. That what a vendor is, right? That what a particular vendor is. Vendor is just what they are, the companies you have in place. So what are the different companies which are dedicatedly providing you all these computational things, cloud things, right? Google is one of them. Fine. AWS is there for, by the Amazon, and then we have Azure by the Microsoft, right? Let's, if I tell you about little bit about the AWS, this AWS is the leader. Way back in 2006, right? This AWS started this complete, he's a pioneer. This organization is a pioneer who started this complete cloud thing. They introduce it. They first of all they started in their own organization, and then they came to know that okay, this cloud part, this concept is very efficient and very helpful for us. What we can also do is that we can outsource it. We can also help other organizations. So they start outsourcing it, and other organizations just what they need to do is that just create an account, and based upon your requirement you are going to pay for it. That's the thing we have in the cloud part. Fine. Okay, so this is the first. AWS is the first organization across the world which officially at a larger scale introduced the concept of the cloud. It in way back in 2006. It wasn't their own internal project, but what they did is that they thought that okay, this is a quite a good thing, and what we can do is that we can start selling it out, this particular service, to other people as well, so they can also utilize it. Multiple I think in way back in 2030, the profit they get, the AWS was $30 billion. That's a huge, okay, $30 billion across the globe, the profit that they get from the cloud part. That's a huge, and it's growing a lot, as like particularly in India or across the globe, as the reach of the internet kind of reaches to the rural areas. Definitely many people are going to come to the online, and as well as we shift, because nowadays also hospitals are also shifting, banks are also completely almost have shifted to the cloud part, where you does not need to go to the any physically to any you know office or a bank. Or what you can do is that you can just open an app and you can just make a payment. You can submit up your request and email all this kind of thing from the comfort of your house and of your office, and that's it. And there are servers in place which will be taking up your request, and based upon your request they will be evaluating a thing, and then it will be providing things, whatever the resources you are or whatever the query you are, they are resolving that particular thing. Perfect. So this is the thing we have in place. So AWS now also is the first, right? Still it holds 60% of the market, the AWS, right? And this is another we have in place, the Azure. This is by the Microsoft. This is the guy's second number, right? This is the second number. This is also a very good competitor of AWS. Right now, people are, I have seen that many of my previous students have got a lot of jobs. If you have expertise, particularly in two cloud platform, mostly in AWS and Azure, you are going to be paid huge, right? AWS and Azure. So first of all, just get in skills over the AWS part, because from my particular experience it's quite simpler as compared to the other cloud platform. It can vary from individual to individual, but from my own experience I'm just telling it. So AWS is quite simpler for a beginner, right? There's a course which is called by the name of AWS practitioner, which is for the beginners only, with those individuals who have no information, no understanding about the cloud. It is from the scratch part. That's what it's talk about, right? And then little by little that you can go to the AWS solution architect, then solution specialty and all much more complicated concept. That's the kind of thing. It definitely helps you a lot. Perfect. So AWS Azure is there, okay, and Azure is the second. It is again, as I told you, it is by Microsoft. And the third we have in place, which is called the GCP, which stands for Google Cloud Platform, and it is from the Google, and it's a third in place, right? The capturing of the market, right? So the first is the AWS. 60% of the market is still being captured by the AWS, and the second one is the Azure, and the third one is the GCP we have in place, right? So, and another we have also as place. So you will be asking that, Amit, do we only have these three vendors in place? I would say no. We have Oracle. Okay, Oracle is also a very big organization we have in place. So Oracle is also there. Oracle, what it does is that Oracle also provides, this cloud platform as well, cloud services. And there is Alibaba, which also does that, as and there are plenty of them, but these three are the heroes right now. Okay, they are the leaders, these three particularly. If you master any two of them, definitely for sure there is a huge demand for those individuals who understand two cloud platforms, right? The hybrid that we say, when you can combine two cloud platform, that is something which we call the hybrid skills we have in place. Okay, and that's a very interesting thing. Fine. Okay. Because nowadays what really happens is that no organization completely rely upon one service. Fine. So that let's say for example, one organization would be storing the data in the AWS. The critical and the crucial data in AWS, we have something which is called by the name of S3. So what they will be doing is that they will be storing a crucial and critical information in the AWS. Then what they will be doing is that in order to use some other services, they will be using the Azure at the same time, right? And then for some other services from some some other services, they will be using the GCP, right? For few services they are using AWS, for some other services they are using the Azure, and for some other services they are using the GCP, right? A combination of it, like the best of the all the three worlds they are using it up. For managing that kind of things, they need those individuals who have an understanding about multiple cloud platform, not just only one, but multiple cloud platform, the hybrid, the understanding you have in place. That what's it. Okay. Right. And remember this thing, why we, many organizations nowadays are switching from on-premises one, right? Like you have an actual server in place. So why they are switching from an on-premises one to a cloud part? You need to understand that particular thing. Because in the cloud part, remember the benefit that you have in place is, let's say for example, if you want to purchase a server, let's say for example, there is a huge demand that is coming up. You have a website in your organization, and that there is, you are predicting that this year or the next year there is a huge number of people are going to come to that particular server. Perfect. Now what is going to happen is, to that particular website, so what you're going to do is that you are going to buy a particular server. Let's say for example, that basic server that you have in place, that server has the cost of 9 lakh rupees. Okay, 9 lakh Indian rupees I'm talking about. Fine. So 9 lakh Indian rupees, it's a lot for a server which is having a very basic configuration. Fine. Now, out of this 9 lakh, they are definitely for sure for managing the server. What you're going to do is that you are going to hire the individuals. Fine. That kind of things you are going to do, right? Like for example, you are going to hire those individuals, network engineers, right? You are going to hire the server engineers as well, the hardware engineers, and all those kind of things as well for, installing it, troubleshooting it, right? If some issues arises in this particular physical server that you are having in your office, then you need individuals professional to look after it as well, right? Something can go wrong because it's a technology, it's a piece of a machine, and multiple things can go wrong, so you need people to just resolve it out. Perfect. So that at that particular moment of time, the cost would be up, increase from 9 lakh to 10, 11 lakh rupees. And it's again a huge thing. But remember, 11 lakh rupees you are spending up on a particular machine at this particular moment of time. Fine. But remember this, in security, we have a concept which is called end of life. Let me write it down as well. Another concept in place which is called by the name of end of life, EOL, right? What it means is that for a certain period of time only, like 5, 6, 5 or 4 years, the particular vendor or a manufacturer would be providing you the support for this. If something goes wrong, you can go to the particular organization, particular service center, and then they will be resolving it. After that 4 to 5 years, they will not going to provide you any kind of a services. There is, let's say for example, the best example I would give you, way back in 2009, 10, 11, there was a phone which is a kind of an experiment by the Microsoft, which is called by the name of Nokia Lumia, right? It was a kind of a phone which Microsoft thought that, if it was a kind of a Windows phone, right? When Microsoft was adding up having their own operating system in that particular phone, it was a big flop, right? Okay. So what really happens is that at 2015 or 16, Microsoft came and they told and they announced that all those individuals or all those phone across the globe who are having that Nokia Lumia, whichever variant, we are not going from 2016. We are not going to provide any sort of a security patch, any update, nothing to it. Right. So what it means is that from 2016 onwards, that particular piece of Nokia Lumia becomes what? It becomes a thing which is called the legacy system in place. Legacy system means now the vendor or the manufacturer who has created, actually the company who has created that particular device, whether it's a server, whether it's a firewall, whether it's a phone, laptop, anything, they are saying it that now we are not going to give up the security update or the security patch to it. So what it means is that, let's say for example, let's again take the example of Nokia Lumia. So from 2016 1st January, if now there is a glitch that comes into your phone, Microsoft would not be helping you out, right? And as the days goes by, multiple problems will be keep on arriving it up in your particular machine, right? There would be some battery issues, the screen, there would be some glitches and all this kind of stuff. Microsoft would not be helping you out, and there would be a lot of vulnerabilities present. So let's come back to the server part. You are spending 11 lakh rupees, and the end of life is 5 years. So after 5 years, even if you have spent 11 lakh rupees for a basic server, I'm talking about a basic physical server, after 5 lakh, that particular 11 lakh rupees would be in complete garbage. Okay, then after 5 years, that server would be just lying in your basement or in your storage storeroom. That's it, it's sort of no use to you. So that's why, to resolve these kind of an issue, what organization did is that they thought of an alternative, and the best alternative they have received is, which is called by the name of cloud. In the cloud, what we do is that we go to the particular organization, like right now in your screen you can see AWS, Azure, and the GCP, the few of them option, right, leaders. So you can go and approach any one of them, and what is going to happen is that once you approach any one of them, you create an account which is free of cost in all of the three vendors, AWS, Azure, and the GCP. And let's say for example you need a server for 1 month. What you do is that you go to the AWS, you deploy a server, and that particular server would be running 24 by 7 for a month. Perfect. And based upon the utilization of the resources, what you're going to do is that you are going to pay for it, right? Pay as you go model. This is the kind of a terminology. Remember, this thing we have in place, which is called by the name of pay as you go. Pay as you go model, right? That the more the utilize things that you utilize, you are going to pay for it. Fine, that's the thing we have in it. And after 1 month, your particular thing is fulfilled, and then what you're going to do is that you are going to just uh, remove it, and that's it. Okay, so this is the thing we have in place. That's why many organizations nowadays are moving to the cloud part. Perfect, because it's quite easy and cheap. Then we have different services of the cloud. In cloud, there are multiple services the cloud vendor provides for the storage part, for the, for the encryption, for multiple other things, right? So what we can do is that we can categorize those services, right? So we have, if you categorize those services on the basis of how they function, and like the cloud provider has a better control, or the cloud user has a better control over it, you have three services in place. The first is IaaS, PaaS, and SaaS, right? So if you look into this particular diagram in place, you will be easily able to understand what it is. This one, the traditional one, on premises one. To build an infrastructure, guys, you need all these kind of things. You need an application, you need a database, security, server, virtualization, storage, and networking. All these kind of things you need, fine, in order to, build something, in order to do something, fine. If you want to do it, that's the thing we have in place, the traditional on-premises one. You have the application, you have the database, you have the security, server, virtualization, server, storage, networking, all these kind of important components you should have in place in the on-premises one. Perfect. Now what really happens in this particular scenario is that if we go to the cloud part, right, as I told you, the traditional way is that we have the cloud part, but now what really happens is that we go to the cloud, right? From the infrastructure, we on premises, we go to the cloud part. Perfect. So we have the first model in place, which is called the IaaS model, infrastructure as a service. All those services, right, in which the application, database, security, and the server, right, whether it's, or you can say the operating system, is managed by the user. Let's say, for example, there is a service we have in place in the AWS, which I will be showing to you, which is called by the name of EC2, Elastic Compute Cloud. This particular service is managed by the user. comes under the IaaS, infrastructure as a service. It means that when I'm using this particular service, I have a control over the application, I have the control over the database, the security, and the operating system. I can choose the operating system as per my will, as per my requirement. Right? That is the thing we have in place. That's something which is called the IaaS, right? Infrastructure as a service. But if you see that there are multiple other components as well, right? There is virtualization, there is, servers, there is storage, there is networking. At that, these component are these the components which are in green, these ones are taken care by the cloud. So the storage part is going to be taken care by my AWS. I have not to worry about it, right? It is taken care by the cloud service provider. That's the thing. Okay. Then we have another service in place which is called the PaaS, which stands for platform as a service. This particular platform or this particular or all those services that comes into the PaaS are those services, they are very helpful for a developer. Let me explain how. Let's say, for example, a very small organization is there which is hardly having 15 developers in place, okay, and they are working on different projects, and they are completely full on schedule, and they have a very hectic task. So what they need to do is that, because they are very small organization and they have a very limited amount of budget, right? So what is going to happen is that that particular organization is going to approach to the particular, they do not want to spend their money to somebody somewhere else. They only want to focus it up upon what, upon their projects. That's it. Upon scaling up, upscaling your the employees, building up the infrastructure, fulfilling the requirement of the client, all those kind of things they want to do, right? Perfect. So in the past models, you have only focusing upon the application that you're creating and the data or the database. That's it. Other than that, the operating system of the server, where is the server deployed, what is the network, what is the subnet, all these kind of things, you does not need to worry about any of that thing, right? You only worry about the PaaS part, platform as a service, right? That means that there are plenty of the services that comes under the PaaS part, and in this particular category, you can say, only you worry about your application and your database. That's it. Other than that, the security of the particular application, the server, all these are taken care by the AWS or the Azure or the GCP, right? You does not need to worry about any of it. So definitely, for sure, you only focus upon your application and the database of your customer. That's it. Then we have third category in place, guys, which is called by the name of SaaS, software as a service. If I give you a best example to understand the SaaS, that is Facebook, okay, or the Google Drive. Mostly I would say Facebook or the Instagram, right? So here what happens is that all the components, all the building components of the infrastructure, like the application, database, security, server, virtualization, server storage, or storage and networking, all these component, what really happen in the SaaS is that in the SaaS, they are all of the component are taken care by the cloud service provider. Nobody else is going to take care, only the cloud service provider. What it means is that these all the component, the storage, the network, the database, the application, are taken care by the Facebook only. Let's say, for example, the application, we have the Facebook Messenger in place. Who is going to take care of the Facebook Messenger? The Facebook only. That there's a database, right? Then you're interacting with your friends, you're chatting up with your friends through the Google, Facebook Messenger or the Instagram, right? So who is going to take care of that particular thing? The database, the Facebook. Who is going to take care of the security of the Facebook, or that particular Facebook application, Facebook. So all these things, Facebook take care of them. That comes at a SaaS model. And we as a user, we only use it. We cannot do anything, right? You cannot change the application, you cannot change the application source code. So you have a very limited power at that particular moment of time. You just only use the services. That's it. Other than that, all the things are taken care by the service provider. Fine. These are the three catalogs we have in place for different services, right? So based upon how they work and how much control the particular user has and how much control the cloud service provider has. In the IaaS, you have a little bit of a control. In the PaaS, a very little control. And the SaaS, no control at all. You're just you know a user, a normal user, and just visiting it up there, and that's it. Fine. Okay. Now let's talk about IAM. IAM stands for, guys, identity and access management. That what's the IAM stands for, identity and access management, right? Okay, so it means that identity, first of all, this I stands for identity. Identity means to identify. IAM is actually a system in place. Okay, so IAM is a system in place. First of all, what it does is that it identify whether you are a legitimate employee or not. Let's say, for example, if you go to the google.com, the google.com or Gmail, the first thing the Google is going to ask you is about your username. In the field they will be providing you, and you will be entering up your username here, right? Something something. Okay, and then what Google is going to do in the back end is that they are going to approach to their servers, and in the servers they are going to find out whether this particular username exists or not. So they are identifying whether I am their, you know um, client, or I would say I have account there as well or not. So okay, I have entered something something at the rate gmail.com in the Google. Perfect. Now what they will do, what I means identify is authentication, right? Authentication means to say, right, if I have said I am Amit Pandey, so what the A would be doing is that it will be asking me for the password. So A means authentication, right? Authenticating, cross verifying whether this particular person is actually who he say he is. So that particular Facebook would be sending me for a field where I have to enter my particular password. And another one I have in place, which is called the M. M stands for management. When I have to access and control these identification and authentication, systems, that complete system in place, which is called by the name of IAM, identity and access management, the management of identity and access. Okay, we have four pillars in place in the IAM, identity and access management, whether in the cloud or whether in the on-premises one. So what really happened in this particular case is that first is the identification, the second is the authentication, right? Where what we do is that we verify that particular person is who he say he is, like the password, the PIN, the multi-factor authentication, that kind of stuff. And in the third pillar, we have authorization, right? Based upon the job role, you are being provided the authorization, like which services you can use and which services you cannot use. And the fourth is accounting, right? Or you can say accountability, right? Like the logs would be created, which that particular employee of your organization is, he is, misusing of power or not, that kind of thing we do in here, right? So this is what an IAM is, identity and access management in place. Perfect. Now we have, let's go to the IAM in the cloud part. Just wait a minute and let me share the screen of the cloud part, because now we are going to do a little bit of an hands-on thing. Okay, so guys, this is how actually the AWS cloud really looks like, right? When if you have an account, or if you will be in the coming futures would be creating an account, so this is how it will be looking like. Fine. These are the recently visited app, services by the AWS. If you go to and click it on the services, you can see that these are the services that are present in there. Like in the left hand side, you can see that these are the catalogs, right? These are the catalogs we have in place. What are these catalogs? The first is about the analytics. The moment you click on the analytics, here you will see all those services are the analytics part. Then you click on the blockchain, and here you can see all the services in the blockchain part. Okay, so let's do that, right? Let's go to the analytics. You click into it, see AWS entity resolution, AWS Amazon Fine Space, AWS Glue, and a kind of a very short description of what this particular thing is. Like AWS Glue is a serverless data integration service. Kinesis, MSK, it is fully managed, high available and secure service for Apache Kafka. All this kind of thing we have in place. Fine. If you just scroll down, you can see the game development, these two services we have in place. So this is, if you learn like machine learning in today's world, after the chat GPT has arrived, many people are, going for the machine learning part, right? They're very enthusiastic about it. So these are all the services we have in place in the Amazon Bedrock, Amazon Code Guru, Comprehend, Deep Composer, right? Plenty of them we have in place. Fine. So these are at left hand side, there is a catalog, and it's quite easy for that. Okay, but we do not need a catalog, right? And there are plenty of more than 300 services we have in place in the AWS. Perfect. Now go to the search bar, right? Where it to the part, and where it happens is that is in the search part, what you can do is that you can go and click into IAM, Identity and Access Management. Okay, just wait a minute. Okay, here you can see IAM, Identity and Access Management, we have in place. In particularly, I'm talking about the cloud part, sorry, the AWS part, right? Which is one of the vendor. First, okay, so this is manage access to AWS resources. Okay, you click into it, IAM part. Okay, so guys, this is how actually an IAM dashboard really looks like, right? In AWS. Here you can see the moment you open it up, security recommendation, I get an alert of it. Okay, so let's read what it is. The first is root user has MFA. It means that root user means an actual person, a particular person who has complete control of this account, who has a username, he has a multi-factor authentication, he has a password. So it means that root user has MFA. So it means that when I've opened this, or when I was logging into my AWS account, I entered my username, I entered my password, and I entered my multi-factor authentication from my Google Authenticator, which every 60 seconds changes. So it's next to impossible to hack this to this particular account. Fine. And deactivate or delete access to the key for a root user. This is a access key is a kind of a different concept we have in place, which I'm not going to discuss in this session. But it's also a very important thing. Okay, perfect. So here you can see identity and access management. This is the dashboard we have in place, and you just scroll down a little bit and you can see the groups. I will be discussing a groups user we have in place, which is also very important. Then we have the roles, policies, and identity provider, and plenty of it, right? You can just scroll it down and you can just look into it. This is my account ID. There are multiple things we have in place, services like the AWS organization and plenty of them where I need it. So this is a very unique thing. So if anybody wants to communicate with me through the AWS, this is the account ID have in place. Fine. If you want to be, if they are, if like any one of you has an already an AWS account, and we both of them wants to, work on a specific project, right? So we can collaborate it together. For the collaboration part, we have an organization, particular server is services in place, which is called by the name of AWS organization. And that particular moment of time, you will be needing this account ID. Very interesting thing, other interesting thing before moving ahead in the IAM part that I want to focus upon this, right? Here you can see it is global, right? What I can do is that just give me a minute and let me just type it out. Just let's go for a moment outside of this particular thing in EC2. Again, guys, this is another service in place, right? This is the IaaS service. And little bit of a control I have over it. I can choose my operating system, I can choose my hardware, I can choose my data and application, I can set up my code. But other than that, rest of it, the storage, the network, all this is taken care by the AWS. Fine. So this is another service we have in place, which is called by the name of EC2, Elastic Compute Cloud. Here you can see, just click into the right hand side at the top corner. Here you can see this is multiple region I have in place. It means that out of these all any of the region, let's say for example right now I am US East North Virginia. It means that any server that I will be deploying here, it will be staying actually in the North Virginia region. Anyone of you, if you are close to the North Virginia, you will be using this particular server in place, right? So it will be reducing your latency a lot. That's the thing we have in place. We have, okay, we have Sydney, Tokyo. So I can deploy physical servers. I can deploy servers in these locations as well. Right now I am in India, and then from my own account, I can deploy. I can go to the Sydney part, right, in Australia, and I can just wait a minute. I'm just switching into it. And now right now I'm in the Sydney part, right, in the AWS Sydney. So what I can do is that I can just create a server, and that server would be created in Amazon database in somewhere in Australia in Sydney. That's the thing. Okay, so why it is so? Because to reduce the latency. So fine, that's the thing we have in place. Okay, so let's go back to the IAM part, which is very important. This thing I told you because many people makes a mistake a lot about the region part. Fine. Okay, so let's give it a try, give it a minute. Perfect. So now what you can see is that this is the IAM we have in place. Now let's go back to our PPT we have in place. Okay, this is an IAM we have. I've just shown you. Okay, and now we have a concept in place which is called the single sign-on, which is a very important thing in the context of the IAM, right? And pretty simple to quite pretty simple. So what is single sign-on is that if this is website first, This is website second, and this is a website third we have in place. This is me, right? I need a username and a password for this particular website, right? For only this particular website I need a username and a password, a unique one. Then for accessing for this particular website, let's say for example this is your Twitter. For this I need a separate website username and a password. Let's say for example this is another website I have in place. For this also I need a separate username and a password, right? So it means that for only three websites, right, I need six credentials, three username and a three password. And to be very frank with you, that's a disaster I have in place. Fine, that is not a good thing, guys. So what I do is that, just wait a minute, let me just remove it out. So what I do is that I just bring up which is called by the name of single sign-on. What it means, single sign-on means is that I am a user. I need only one credential. I would say I up kind of a pair of a credential, username and a password. That's it. Only one username and a one password. I do not need three username and a three password. Okay, that's kind of a very foolish thing, right? Because in real life scenario we have more than three accounts, right? We have multiple accounts in our organization, multiple accounts in our personal life. It would be a very terrific thing if you just remember all of them, or you just write it down somewhere else. It's a very a good thing. Okay, so we, for the security reason, we have come up with the concept of single sign on. What we do is that we just only need one username and a password, and using this username and a password, what we can do is that I can access, after entering correct username and a password, I am able to access all the content on this particular website first, website second, and website third. That is something which we call by the name of single sign on, SSO. Single sign on, only one credential, a pair of a credential you need in order to access multiple website or multiple things, right? That is the thing we have in place, which is called by the name of single sign on. Perfect, right? Then guys, we have something which is called by the name of IAM user. Right now just a theoretical part I'm showing you, but I will be showing you in the hands-on thing as well. Okay, so these are the user. IAM user means the users. Remember, there is a root. As I told you, root is an actual person. Like I am the root user of my particular laptop, machine, mobile phone, and I can create multiple users, right? And based upon the permission I will be assigning to those users, they will be only to work upon that predefined permissions only, right? Let's say for example, if I say to this particular user, you can only access C drive, so he can only access my C drive. He cannot go outside of it, right? That kind of thing I have control over. Other, let's say for example, I have C drive in my system, D drive, and E drive. I can control, delete, modify everything in my all the three drives. But for this user first, I want him to only access the C drive, so I can create a user, attach it, and give it to any one of you, and you will be only able to access or create or modify, delete whatever you want based upon the permission or the policy. You can only access the C drive. That's what we have. So we have users in place, right? And what we do is that we attach policy to these users as well. Perfect. Then we have a group for managing the users. As I told you, for managing the user, what we do is that group, right? Let's say for example, if there are 300 students I have in place and I have to teach them cloud or something like that, right? What I will do is that, let's say for example, three out of three of them, there are let's say 1150 which want to learn AWS, and there are 150 that wants to learn Azure, right? Okay. So what I do is that I just classify them into two groups, AW one groups, right? Remember that. That's what it means. The groups. I have categorized them based upon their basic requirement or the requirement they have asked me for. 150 group, and then this will be the Azure group, and this would be the AWS group. So if I have an article to share with them, or if I have a anything, questions or something like that I want to share with my, or books, or any other study material that I want to share with my students, what I do is that I just send it to the AWS group. That's it. And if I have a thing to share it with the Azure, this is the thing, right? So this is we have in place on the group part. And remember, this is guys very thing we have in place. This is how the policy really looks like. It's a very deep thing, so I'm just showing you how it really looks like. So this is the policy, guys. You can write your own policies, and this is right in AWS. It is written in JSON, right? Okay. So this is how actually the particular policy is, like effect, allow, and this action, all this kind of things. Okay. So we have in place. So we have to attach this policy. Either you can use the AWS already created policies, or what you can do is that you can create your own policy and then you have to attach to a particular user. But remember this, you have to learn and how what these things are, right? What is effect and what this side and state and all this kind of things are, right? Little bit of a coding experience you need, little bit, not much. Okay. Then we have something which is called policy inheritance. Again, a very interesting thing, as I told you, in the policy inheritance, guys, what really happens is that, again, see, this is one group, a developer group. Alice, Bob and Charles are part of a developer group inside an organization. Fine. Inside an organization, inside the same organization, there is another group which is called the audit team, right? And inside the organization there is another which is called by the name of operations we have in place. Fine. Perfect. Now we have three groups inside an organization, and Alice, Bob and Charles are part of the developer, so they are inside the developer group. Charles and David are part of the developer as well as the audit team, and Edward is part of the operations, right? So in the operation team, so what really happens is that if I want to send a message to the operation team, I will go to the operation, I will just send a message in the operation part, and David and Charles would be receiving it up. That was the policy inheritance mean. It means that the user are part of a group. Perfect. So this is the group, developer group, and Alice and Bob's and Charles is the part of it. If I send a message or a policy attached to this particular group, automatically the users would be getting that particular thing by themselves. That's the thing we have in place, which is called by the name of policy inheritance. Fine. Okay. Now guys, let's do some hands-on thing, right? Again, let's go back to it. Let's go back to the cloud part. Okay, perfect. And let me show you how to create a user. Fine. So this is the user I have in place already, a Kiran. Let's create another user. I click into the add user, the username. What? Okay, let's say for example, what could be the username? Let's name it tree. Fine. And I click into the provide user access account, and I click on I want to create an IAM user. This one is quite tricky, but I'm going for this one. I am want to create a user account. Perfect. Now what I can do is that I can just scroll down. I have two things. Okay, the user I am creating right now, who would be able to access the resources of my this AWS account, that particular user, either I would be saying auto generate or custom password. If I click into the custom password, I have to create the password by myself. If I do the auto generate part, I will be keeping, just completely giving up the responsibility to the AWS, the boss, do that thing, on my behalf, right? And these are things that you have to taken care of. They should be in capital letter, small letter, and all these kind of things, right? Okay, I just do the auto generate password. Perfect. And user must create a new password. It means that if I just provide you or any other user this credential or password, the moment he will be entering inside the AWS, right, he have to again change the password. That what it means. User must create a new password at next sign in. Okay, that's what I'm going to do. I click into the next part, right, and I go into the attach policy directly. See, attach a group, user to a group, copy permission or attach policy directly. What I'm trying to do here is this. I'm creating a user and attaching a policy directly. That's what I mean. That's what it means, right? Attach a manage policy directly to a user. Fine. Okay, and these are the multiple policies I have in place, right? Okay, so let's say for example, there's a policy in place which is called EC2 full access, right? See, Amazon EC2 full access. Just click into it just and see what really is written there. Amazon EC2 full access. This is a policy that I'm going to attach to my user. Perfect. And here you can see provide full access to the Amazon EC2 via AWS management console. It means that that service EC2, which help us in deploying a server, what is going to happen there? You are going to be, providing full. That particular person can create any server, anything, right? He can use the service at without any limitations. That particular server service only I'm talking about. Perfect. I'm going to attach it up. I'm going to click next, right? See, it's just a short summary. Username tree, and console password type auto generate, and required password reset. No, have not done that. This is a permission that is attached to the user, and a create a user. Okay, so let's wait a minute. And here you can see user created successfully, right? You can view and download the user password and email instructions for signing into the AWS management console. This is the thing you have received, right? Yep. Okay. And see, This is the link. Okay, that what I will be doing is that I will be copying this particular link and sharing with my user, and this is the name of that username. Okay, and this is the password of it. If I just show it to you, this is the password, right? RG and then bracket I4 hyphen, you know that's it, and return to the user list. So this is the thing I have created, return to the user list. Let's do that, and let's give it a minute. See, now I have guys two user in place, Kiran and Tree. I have created right now, and you can see that the password none. Okay, password change. Okay, this is a thing we have in place. And last activity none, and multi-factor authentication no, it has not enabled multi-factor authentication. That's the thing. And this is guys, this is what a group is. Okay, a group is a collection of the IAM user. That's what I told you, right? What's actually a group is. Group, what it is, this is a group, and what you do is that you attach multiple user inside that particular group. If I want to say that all those user can access the server first in my organization, that I have plenty of server, what I can say is that I want the user to access server first. What I will do is that I will attach the server. I will give this group a policy that it can access server first. So all these user automatically, because it's a part of the group, they will be automatically getting the permission to access this server first, S1, right? That's the thing. So I do not have to go manually to each and every user. What I can do is that I can just post it in the group, like we have in the WhatsApp group, right? Instead of going and pasting out the thing to each and every one of it, what we do is that we go to each and every uh, instead of going to each and every one of your friend, what you do is that you just create a WhatsApp group and put all of your friend inside it and just post a thing, and all of your friend would be getting a message. The same thing, same particular concept applies here. That what really happens. Fine. Okay, so how to do that? Just wait a minute. Create a group. Okay, right, and you just see multiple things I have in place. Okay, I'm choosing tree, which I have created right now. This user I am choosing right now. Okay, the group name, let's say for example one. I just scroll down and see multiple policies I still have, right? I can attach that as well. Perfect. Okay, let's click on the create group. As simple as that, right? I have created a group, guys. Okay, it's so simple as that. Fine. Okay, this, because this is a very entry level, that's why I'm just giving you an overview of it. Fine. Okay, see, I have created a group with the name of one, right? And the permission, it will be showing me that what kind of permission. I have not provided any sort of a permission, so no worries with related to that. Okay, so this is the group, right? You can delete it as well. Like say for example, this is the user, and this user tree is compromised. It is hacked, right? I get to know from my organization, okay, Amit, this particular tree is compromised. It is hacked. What to do that? I can just select it and do delete and just type tree, and that's it. It's gone. Every permission, every everything to him, that is gone, right? See, it is gone. Now the particular person or the hacker who has the hack or control of that particular thing, he will not be able to do anything, right? Because I have taken his power back. And this is the group I have in place. Simple, just select it out, click into the delete, and there is a thing we have in place which is called one. You hit into it, and see guys, job done, right? And you just click into the policy part. Let me just show to the policies as well. Wait a minute. See, multiple policies I have in place, right? If I just show you EC2 full access, right? That's the thing I have shown you, EC2 full access. I just click into it, and here you can see multiple things, right? You just click into the JSON part, and you can see that, see, this is the policy, right? Definitely, for sure, you should have a little bit of a programming understanding, little bit, not much, right? Which what I do is that in my sessions, when many of my students join, I teach them something which is called the top down approach. Only that kind of an information that is needed, that much of information I will be explaining to them. That's it. Okay, so it's quite simple. In the session I covered it up as well. I have taught that to the students who have absolutely no background knowledge about the software part, software development, all this kind of thing. So you do not need to worry about it. It's quite pretty simple. Fine. Okay. So it's quite simple. Within a few minutes, you will be able to understand what it is. Perfect. So this is how the policy really looks like.